Good afternoon, and thank you for your kind invitation. I am Emanuela Leto. I teach English in Italy, and I'm very glad to share with you my learning scenario. This learning scenario was published in the Teaching with Europeana blog. I am part of the DSI user group, and I planned this learning scenario using the resources taken from Europeana. The scenario is planned for students attending the first year of law secondary school in Italy. We planned this learning scenario, me and my colleague who teaches history and geography in this classroom, Mrs. Concetta Sordi, because I like to teach in a CLIL modality, and that means content and language integrated learning, because I think it is more effective for students to learn English in this way. So usually I teach English using history or geography contents. And in that particular way, we planned this kind of learning units during the pandemic. In the pandemic year, we really realized the importance of school, and we tried to convey the experience to our students who, of course, in the period that they were experiencing online remote learning, realized how much the school was necessary for their spiritual, cultural growth and for their socialization. So, considering that in the first year of the law secondary school, which corresponds to the 7th year of European school, so the students are around 10, 11 years old, in the curriculum of history in Italian school, in Italian educational system, Middle Ages are planned. We tried to give another hint to the study of history. I think that history is worth studying on real documents rather than on books. And so we made up a discussion about the importance of school, and we traced the origins of modern school back to the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages are a period really interesting for students because students think that they are dark ages, also because sometimes Middle Ages are the main theme of different video games they're used to. And so I combined their attention to the web and to web tools, with the discovering of what is real, the Middle Ages, and how they can be represented. In particular, in this learning unit, we focused our attention on the school and how it was planned, it was organized, and the fact that the modern school was born during the Middle Ages, which are a different kind of age, how they think it was an age of cultural development, of discovery, and most of the things that we really use now in the schools were born in that period. And so we started from this image. This image is taken from the Wellcome collection that I found in European resources. And it's a Margherita Filosofica, but it's the importance of this image that we'll see in other tools that I used for this learning scenario, is the fact that we still use now in the school, in the modern school, some tools that are displayed in this image. And I mean, one of the sample is the abacus, for example, that we still use in primary school. So they are aware of it. So the beginning of this learning unit, we focused a lot on school education, its importance. We used some app like Mentimeter to make a survey of students and the importance of school. But we focused our attention, and I think that that's what I will show you. It is most interesting for your field of research. The importance of the school books, the textbooks of schools. We made a comparison among the published school books that we use nowadays and the original manuscripts that the students of their age of that period, living the Middle Age, used to go to school. And so we made a really interesting comparison that I will show you later on. And the lessons were about this learning scenario were carried both in both language, mother tongue and English language, because the school, I always show you my students, this is my class, these are my students, and we are in this moment taking a quiz that I will show you later on. The level is not very deep. They have an elementary level of competence in English, so I had to use also some materials in mother tongue with the support of these three teachers in mother tongue. So the students, guided by the teachers, make a research on the manuscript of the Age using the European collection, and I will show you in my unit, which it is available on the Teaching with Europeana blog. And this is my unit with all the resources that we used. And of course, we used also resources in mother tongue. But the most important thing that we'd like to show you is that we used some resources from Europeana to show the students how the textbooks in that period were made, that they were handwritten and with a lot of work by the amanuenses on the initials, for example. We show them these resources from Europeana. And this was a very interesting part of the lessons because we encouraged the students following this example that we found in Europeana to copy a page of their own modern school books and to recreate in this way, copying it, handwritten, and creating the illuminated initials. It was a work which was very interesting, but unfortunately I cannot show the work of my students because my files were corrupted in my computer for a problem. But they made something like this. Apart this, I used to make the learning more interactive some digital tools in which I conveyed the same images that I found in Europeana collection, for example, some of the school manuscripts, for example, this. It's an example of a grammar book, and we compared this example grammar book with their grammar books. Or, for example, I used some other resources like this. Just a moment, let's take it. This is the procedure, just a moment. For example, a math book, and we compare with a modern math book to see which are the differences. For example, this was about the sphere, and we compare this. We were just a little bit advantaged because I tried to make the students read these textbooks because they are Latin, and as Italian people, we are more used to understand Latin because our language is of Latin origin. But what I did was also at the beginning of the learning unit, I used some app to focus, for example, on the timeline, like this one that will show you that is in the Learning app, which is a free app that I used mostly for my lessons, in which the student should put in order the images in the perfect order. giving a look to the images. So some images were taken by the European collection, some images were taken by the web. But they in this way, using this app, they were more aware of the timeline, and they associated images to a particular period of the Middle Ages. This app was a good app to memorize the dates, but also was also a good way to evaluate the students about the competences on history. Another app that I used was Inquisids, which is another free app that I use to make text, to make online text, in which they have to watch, to set them some questions about the Middle Ages and to answer to some questions of the Middle Ages to have a comprehension of the period. But the most interesting is another app that I've got on, just a moment, that I have to see where is it, which is on Kahoot. This one, in which I used some images taken from the Europeana collection. For example, this the medieval entombment of a church from the Bodleian Welcome collection, or this other, which was another manuscript taken from the European National Library of Netherlands, in which they had to answer to the questions to what the image referred to. This was a really powerful tool to make them impress about the main facts, to detach them from the school books, and to study history from real materials such as these manuscripts. And they were a way to evaluate the competencies on Middle Ages, but also a way to refresh the memories about the things that we were talking about. For example, this image was about the creation of manuscript. So they will see that there is a monk which is in charge of this activity, and this is the way the textbooks were created. Or, for example, this is an image of what was a classroom in that period in the Middle Ages. And this is the most powerful image because in this image is taken by the Wellness collection, is shown the abacus, which they still use in primary school nowadays. The students, of course, were very interested in this kind of lessons, and this is a good way to learn about history, about their past from real documents, but also conveying it in English is a good way for me to teach English in a more effective way. There are other things that I would like to introduce you, because I used to European collections for other units, learning scenarios, like, for example, the legend about King Arthur. I used some manuscripts from European collection, but my time, I think I went on my time, and so I thank you for your attention, and I hope to have other chances to show and share with you this work too. Thank you, and have a nice continuation at the conference.